I'm Catherine McLean, founder and CEO of Dillon Green, and today I have with me Rosanna Maietta, the Chief Communications Officer and Senior Counselor to the CEO at American Clean Power Association. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. So excited to be with you.
And just in the DC area as well, up the street.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
We are downtown.
Yep. I'm just in Virginia, suffering miserably with the allergies, but enjoying the beautiful weather. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your current role at ACP?
Sure. So I'm no longer a newbie. We have so many new people starting that it's hard to be a newbie for very long. I've been there about a year and a half. I came on to be Chief Communications Officer and Senior Advisor to the CEO, so Jason Gramey. In that capacity, really run point on all of our external communications and campaigns. I mean, we have some fun campaigns going on that I'd love to talk about, but also our, what we call our sort of member communications. You kind of refer to it as internal communications, making sure that when the advocacy team is scoring some big wins, that we're telling our members about it so that they're up to speed and have all the information they need to do their jobs well and really see the value of what a trade association in DC means and can do for them. And then I also oversee all of our events and our event portfolio, which is about 8 events a year, including our upcoming Clean Power in Minneapolis.
And you began your career working as a journalist for Bloomberg News in Italy, which sounds really cool, and as a media relations manager for Newsweek magazine. How did you make your way into the clean energy industry?
Sure. So I was a reporter in Italy right after graduation, and so had a number of roles doing finance and whatnot. And when I moved back to the States, I joined Newsweek magazine in their PR shop, and in fact wasn't quite sure, like, what is PR, what is communications. So, and have those since been in the communications role. When you're in Washington, and now I've been here for almost 20 years, working at a big PR firm, and had done almost a decade in that firm, working for international and national clients, Fortune 500 companies, corporate communications, et cetera. Ended up in the trade association, was in hospitality before joining Clean Energy, and always in that space of communications, right? And so Clean Energy just had this great buzz and momentum around it. The innovation that's happening is mind-boggling. It is a cool industry, and it's no longer the thing you talk about far away in the future. It's really happening right now. And so when this role sort of came to me, a lot of decisions in life, I think, are about timing. And circumstance. And so the timing was right for me to make the leap from hospitality communications at a trade association to clean energy. Yeah,
I find that, especially when you're a woman. Timing.
Yes, exactly. Timing, connections, right, where you are at your stage in life. So I was ready for something new and interesting and fun. And this is all those things.
And what would you say ACP's top policy-focused areas are this year, and why? So, for example, I know you're doing a lot with permitting, supply chain, green hydrogen, offshore wind. There's a lot to cover there.
We like to joke that, what isn't our priority these days? I think it's really interesting because the industry is at a real pivotal point. There's so much momentum. There's so much going on. There's so much more we want to do if things were working more effectively and efficiently, and some age-old systems and could be modernized and really account for how we live today and where we're going in the future. What we did under Jason Gramey this year was really think about ACP's priorities, because you can be pulled in a million different directions when you're at a trade association, and because we represent all tech, that can present some challenges. And so he came up with what we're calling our 5 by 5 by 5, which is organizational priorities around advocacy outcomes, strategic initiatives, and organizational imperatives. So really, what does that boil down to when it comes to advocacy? I mean, all the things you mentioned, right? Permitting, hydrogen, but where does that all live? really our first and most important area is to defend the IRA, to insulate the IRA. It passed, and now it's, making it durable policy. So we're really, focused on that. What is guidance, helping our members understand what's happening when that rolls out, what it means to them. And where we might need to make or call for new adjustments, right? Supply chain, that is always going to be a priority in any industry, any energy industry, especially ours. So that is one. The third, workable siting and permitting rules at the federal, state, and local level. And I think you've even, you've covered this in a lot of your podcasts as well, is just how challenging the siting and permitting pieces are, especially at the local level, the rise of misinformation, rise of opposition. How does that all impact, just getting projects permitted, and so we can deploy more energy and get things built. So that is a top priority. Transmission, getting connected to the grid, getting power to the people. And then finally, advancing specific advocacy issues around offshore wind and energy storage, two important pillars in the organization.
And can you highlight what you would consider ACP's top policy success over the past year, or successes?
Yeah, I think our members would say guidance. That has been the most important piece. Because the IRA was so complex, it was really understanding how those incentives will work, what that means, areas that they might need to make adjustments, and things that we might need to go back to the administration and say, hey, this isn't actually a workable solution, so what can we do here? So we saw a number of wins in that sort of piecemeal rollout of guidance. I know there's still a lot more pending there. I think another important piece for us as an organization was bringing the industry together around a transmission framework, hydrogen framework, and as we think about permitting reform, where the industry, is aligning. So I think we've seen some important things, and most recently the guidance that came out just a couple of weeks ago around expanding offshore wind eligibility and the energy communities bonus tax credit. So that was an important one, and we are keeping our foot on the gas. So.
For those who don't know, ACP was launched in 2021 as a rebranded and expanded version of the American Wind Energy Association. Since then, ACP has experienced a great deal of growth, including hiring over 50 people and reaching over 800 member companies. What has contributed to ACP's growth, and how are you addressing all of its members' diverse interests, from developers to utilities?
Sure. That's a great question. I think ACP's growth and, growing visibility and reputational strength really speaks to where the industry is as a whole. Clean energy is American energy, and it is no longer, the innovative darling that may come, may add energy to the country. I mean, we're 16% of the energy mix, and I think it is just continuing to grow. I mean, 2023 set an all-time record for clean power installations. Solar and energy storage are leading the surge, and you're just going to see more and more of that. And I think the two are growing together, ACP along with the impact the industry has. But I will say, you mentioned 50 people. I mean, that was last year. We're adding, 10 people almost every 2 weeks. So we are continuing to grow as a staff. And that is one of our core priorities and organizational imperatives, right? Is to retain a best-in-class team, to focus on diversity and inclusion, to build a strong culture. And then, provide, as a trade association, all those things that a mature trade association does, provide value to our members. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do we expand beyond advocacy, which will always be the most important thing that we do, but all these other services, education and training, best practices, resources that our members need to do their job well. So you're going to start to see ACP doing more and more of that, diversifying our members, really building up a membership department. We've added some really terrific leaders who are thinking about that every day and what does that look like. And then hosting, best in class conferences. I think we have built a reputation of providing terrific curated content that I think differentiates us from some other conferences out there and other organizations. I think we have some conferences that are really very technical, that people come to learn and meet from their peers and really understand how they can do their jobs better. And not everybody is doing that these days. And so, then we have our larger conferences that, of course, people come to network and meet and have business deals. And that's important, will continue to be. But we're thinking about, how do you always make those experiences even better and stronger, because people's times are they're thinking very carefully about where they're going and traveling and making those decisions carefully and thoughtfully. And so we want to make sure that we're bringing great experiences. And I think lastly, I'll just say, the building our C3, the Cleanpower Institute, is a core part of ACP's value that will focus, primarily on workforce training and building the next generation of talent. And that's going to continue to be important to the industry overall.
So speaking of conferences, I think we were talking about conferences in there somewhere. Yes. Speaking of conferences, Cleanpower is coming up next month.
Yes.
And so what's going to be different about it this year versus last year, besides the fact that last year it was in New Orleans and now it's in the great city, Minneapolis? And I'm also interested to hear more about Cleanpower's EmpowHER Forum, which I know is associated with WRISE.
Yes.
So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so really excited about this year, right? We were a little worried, hard to top. New Orleans, great city, great venue, so much to, culture to lean into. But Minneapolis is a phenomenal city. We're also tracking the weather, so we know it's going to be fantastic weather.
Yes.
Which, when Minneapolis has fantastic weather, it is simply gorgeous. City of lakes. They have a long history of green and sustainability, and you'll see that everywhere. They have, I think, the most parks per capita than any other state. And so, you're just surrounded in this beautiful idyllic location. We're expecting about 10,000 people. So this should be one of our largest conferences yet. And I think what you'll see that's different, we're trying to do things, we're always trying to top ourselves a little bit. So some of that is in the curated content that we're bringing. This year's theme is powering America's future. And we're really going to be showcasing the champions of clean energy, from everyone who's getting on stage to the folks who are in our videos and will be our stars and heroes throughout the event. Really excited about that. We're going to have industry leaders speaking, as well as CNBC's sharks from Shark Tank. So excited about that. It still is the place where deals are made. And so you'll see a lot of that on the show floor. We have almost, nearly 500 exhibitors. It will be packed. We're going to have a lot of espresso bars and, fun recharge stations, because everybody will need that. And really excited to open the conference, and our reception will be at US Bank Stadium, which is a LEED building. It is gorgeous. It is been built by one of our member companies, Mortensen. We will have a Prince cover band, field gold kicks, a lot of fun activations. So that will be a great way to sort of start the celebration going. And you mentioned Empower, right? Like that is another
Mhm.
one of the things that we're adding new this year. We want to, when we started talking with the women leaders, particularly on our board, about uh, growing and cultivating the next generation of women leaders in clean energy. I think they felt that there was a need for ACP to play a role in particularly helping that C-suite executive.
Yeah.
And recognizing too RISE's important role in cultivating talent in the clean energy world. And so we are reimagining our partnership with RISE. So we're doing 2 distinct events, one on Monday, one on Tuesday. So if you can't make it to one, we're hoping folks will come to the other. Both will provide, ample room for discussion and focus on leadership, but also that important role around mentorship and sponsorship, right? And
Right.
knowing where you are in your life and where, should you be mentoring? Are you a mentee or a mentor? And what does sponsorship mean? And how do you pick sponsors and how do you think about that? We'll also have some wonderful women from leaders in Minneapolis who will be taking the stage with our leaders, and we're excited to feature some wonderful women from our board who are leading figures in the clean energy world. And I think we all have a lot to learn from each other. So really excited about those two things coming together this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sometimes you could be a mentee and a mentor at the same
Yeah,
time.
exactly. And
I
it's
feel
not,
like that's been me this week. Like I've been leaning on some people for advice and then also like doling out the advice.
yeah. And it's so fun to like watch people that you've maybe helped over the years really get to that next level. Like that is so rewarding to just see
Rewarding.
people
Yeah.
get where they want to be, right?
Yeah. And why did ACP decide to launch an annual energy storage summit? So I knew you
Yeah.
guys are doing like ACP Recharge. Like, how is
Yeah.
this conference different from like other energy storage conferences?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think twofold, right? One, when I first took on the role of events, I wanted to understand how did we rank amongst our competitors out there and what is out there? What is the universe of, energy events? And there's a ton of them. And
Right.
some of them are terrific. And we certainly don't want to replicate what's out there if someone else is doing it well, great. What we want to do is provide value to our members, and where do they see the white space? And as energy storage is really just booming, the industry supports 60,000 jobs in tech innovation, in manufacturing, and it is such a central part of the clean energy mix. And we have many more members in the energy space or who are getting in the energy space that are part of ACP. And there wasn't a real home where they could come and have dedicated content focused on all of the issues that they're facing with, but also that important networking and learning that comes from an event that is just for you. So when we looked at the universe of where ACP could have impact, this was one of them. So we're excited to launch it in Portland in June. It'll be right after Cleanpower. So hopefully people aren't exhausted. But we're also, so we want to create some buzz. So we're partnering with Formula E. They're having their one leg of their race, the electric formula, race will be in Portland. And so at the end of our conference, we're going to bring folks who are interested over to the racetrack. We'll have some more dedicated content there. So should be a lot of fun. And bringing folks together is really what it's all about.
So much is going on in Portland these days. I feel like it's just trending. It's like like the Denver and Austin in our, the past couple of years, like they were these cities that everybody was interested in. They're growing so rapidly in our space. I feel like Portland it's been that lately, noticed.
Yeah. And there's a great number of projects in and around that area. Vestis's headquarters there. There's a lot of, there's a good clean energy footprint. So
yeah,
we're excited. Good food scene too.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us. And I'm looking forward to the event in a couple of weeks and seeing everybody. And thanks for all the work that you're doing for our industry.
Thank you. I mean, likewise, really appreciate all you do to promote clean energy. It's so important. We're so excited to have you come join us. It'll be fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.